Hey, everybody. We're on video, live on the internet. Is that cool?
Let's
Good
go.
at that? Yeah. Well, okay. That's what I'm going to do. Here we go.
Welcome aboard the Daily Tech News Show. Please keep your earbuds in at all times. If, throughout the show, you feel the need to contribute, go to patreon.com/acedetect. Now, please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, October 2nd, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, as he does many Fridays, Mr. Darren Kitchen, DTNS contributor, founder of hack5.org, and man with a hat.
Man with a hat, indeed. Up until the haircut coming, and then I will have maybe a week or two of non-hatness.
The display, yeah, you get a haircut, you want to display it, right?
Yes,
It makes sense. Also joining us today, man about the week. He's like Thursday, F Thursdays. I'm Justin Robert Young. I'll show up when I want.
I do, and now a Justin Robert Young guest spot is never early, nor is it late. Just when it means to.
You know who has not joined us, and I just realized it may have been an invite fail, is Mr. Len Peralta. So I am going to, unless I forgot something and he can't make it today for some reason.
I saw him in the dock.
He's in the dock. Yeah.
There we go. I'm gonna put that Hangout invite back out there. Maybe it didn't get to him the first time.
Do you want me to start the headlines?
Well, no, that's all right. We don't have to do that here. Let's just do that like that. By the way, it's Fan Mail Friday, so we got a lot of really good emails from folks that we're going to bring in. But let's start the headlines. As we mentioned yesterday, user information from patreon.com was accessed by unauthorized intruders. 15 gigabytes of data has been posted online. Security researcher Troy Hunt says, yeah, it looks to be from Patreon servers. In addition to the personal information we mentioned yesterday, Hunt found source code along with private messages, essentially an entire database. Ars Technica reports Swedish security firm Detectify claims to have warned Patreon on September 23rd that it was running Workzeug utility library with debugging functions on. That utility can be manipulated to give unauthorized access in a way that fits the description of the attack that Patreon made yesterday. Thanks to EFC88 for the subreddit submission. Hey, Darren, one of the reasons this is getting attention from our show, obviously, is we're funded by Patreon in part, but another reason is that a lot of folks like Dan Gooden from Ars Technica seem to think that this is a bigger data dump than maybe people expected. Where does it fall on the spectrum for you?
Well, I mean, the first thing that I look at when it comes to a data breach is how was the authentication secured? And this is actually one of the better cases. It's using bcrypt, which is like way better than the, you sometimes see MD5 or SHA-1 or some really weak algorithms being used. So it's good to see, that they're using at least industry standard stuff. The next thing I've actually stopped even hoping for and dreaming of, and I've just been crushed and beaten down by the whole concept that any social network or other sort of service that keeps your data would ever give the same kind of security to the actual data that you provide that you do with, say, your password. Yeah, I mean, it seems large, but I haven't had a chance to troll through it. Really, it's I'm not too concerned that somebody's going to know that I donated to DTNS.
Well, and I think that's the thing is the passwords are bcrypt. Now, with the source code, partial source code out there, that could possibly give a hacker a leg up. We don't know if there's a mistake in the programming or something, but really the kind of the personal messages, the private messages, seem to be the worst thing that's out there in plain text anyway right now.
And even then, that is really only embarrassing if you have said something embarrassing in that fairly lightly trafficked, at least for people on this. I mean, I don't use private message much on the several Patreons that I run. So if that is embarrassing for people who have said something embarrassing, then that will get out. This, in some ways, is a validation of Patreon's open model for letting everybody know exactly how much money is coming in. If anything, as we've seen in some of the second day coverage of it, part of what could be revelatory is how much creators are actually making. Spoiler alert, less than the number that you see on their Patreon page.
Right. It actually could be fairly instructive, to be honest.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anything, it's not going to be very embarrassing, I think, for creators. Although, what has been interesting is seeing whether or not some of the code that could make other hacking or other database breaches more likely is indeed in the wild. Let me just ask you this, Darren. What is that phenomenon? Like, because I can kind of wrap my head around it, but I don't really understand the idea that part of this breach could be, the key to other breaches if they do not do more work on it.
Well, I mean, the most obvious one is just that people recycle passwords. But again, that's why the first thing I look at is, what's the encryption means for that password, because bcrypt is pretty secure if you've got a long passphrase. And so the hope is that in this day and age, people have kind of clued on to the fact that you're not supposed to use the same password on every site. So I can see how that could be a launching pad in that sense. There's also other, phishing and social engineering opportunities there when you have personally identifiable information about people. But I don't think there's any, at least for me, I'm not like putting social security numbers or anything like that in here.
And by the way, biocow in the chat room points out from what he can tell, looking at it, seems like there's about 100 lines of source code in there. For if that makes any difference to how people are thinking about it.
What I wonder is how different would this be if instead of talking about Patreon, which is like a really interesting subscription kind of model thing, but if we were talking about something like Kickstarter versus, say, Indiegogo, if Kickstarter were hacked and the source code and gigs and gigs of data were released, would that change? The thing that's going to make the biggest difference to this company is their trust with their consumers. Would that actually change, like, product developers that are like, maybe I should really consider Indiegogo because I don't want to fall victim to a Kickstarter hack or something of that nature?
Yeah, and we've already seen a few people decide to pull their patron support because they just don't, I don't think that signing up for Patreon is any less secure than any other service that you're going to give payment information to, as we'll see in our next story. But at the same time, it's sort of the people are getting tired of having their information attacked and stolen all over the place.
And my guess would be this particular breach, maybe not the worst thing on the planet for Patreon. Subsequent breaches, a history of that.
Yeah.
That's when you start to erode trust between you and your customer.
Hey, Len Peralta is in the Hangout now. Thank you, Len. Sorry we had miscommunication there, but I'm glad you made it in.
Oh, no problem. No problem. It's good to be here.
Excellent. All right. Hey, we've got more breaches, folks.
Yeah. Experian announced that Thursday a server containing data used for credit checks of T-Mobile customers had been attacked. Data was accessed for 15 million people who applied for a T-Mobile service requiring a credit check between September 1st, 2013 and September 16th, 2015. The stolen data includes names, date of births, addresses, and social security numbers. No payment card or banking information was acquired. Thanks to Strike It Rich and habichuelacondulce for posting this on the subreddit, and thanks for Alan for sending Tom an actual can of habichuelacondulce.
I haven't popped it open to eat it yet. I'm sure it's not as good as like the real thing down in the Dominican. And it's also spelled as 3 words. Habichuelas con dulce with coconut.
From Goya,
Yeah.
the leading brand of all my Hispanic friends that I used to have in South Florida.
Anyway, I got a really big chuckle when I pulled this out of a box that had come to our post office box. That was amazing. Thank you, Alan. All right. Recode reports Google Inc. will officially become a subsidiary of Alphabet when markets close today. If you were wondering, did it already happen? Is it yet to happen? It's happening today. Shares of Google stock will be converted to Alphabet shares 1-for-1. Class C shares will continue to trade under the old ticker, Goog. Class A shares under the old ticker, Goog-L. Alphabet does not plan to share the financials of its companies until January's fourth quarter earnings report. That's when they'll restructure everything under the new system for reporting purposes.
Silicon Valley Business Journal reports Apple has reached a deal with Land Bank Investments, LLC, to build a second architecturally innovative campus. The new expansion will be in Sunnyvale, not Cupertino, on 777,000 square feet of space at Central Expressway and Wolf Road. Whether it's for Apple or not remains to be confirmed publicly, but Landmark has a website up showing the campus design at notanotherbox.com.
Everybody's calling it a spaceship, but it looks more boat-like to me. It's very swoopy.
I'm just excited that this will actually make a nice impact on rent in the Bay Area, which we all know has been, under some turmoil.
In what way?
Well, in the way that the SFS Apartment Sadness blog will be filled with more witty satire.
I see. More fodder for amusements.
Yeah. Like the bunk bed you could rent with an IT guy for $700 a month. So I mean, it could be $800 a month. Once we get some more Apple people up in here,
gotcha.
It'll be good.
I mean, I'm just saying, why do we have to have everything going down 280 in the 101? Right? Like, can't we put something just that runs on another highway that we can totally clog up and make unusable for 3 hours?
People in Pittsburgh and Dublin are like, shut up.
I know. Well, Bay Area traffic and weather together on the 5s and 10s here on DTNS.
ZDNet's Mary Jo Foley reports that ASUS has signed a patent deal with Microsoft covering its Android products, and as part of the deal, will pre-install unspecified Microsoft productivity services on its Android tablets and smartphones. I mean, it's going to be Office. Why can't they just say that? I don't know, but they won't yet. I imagine it's going to be more than just Office, though.
I just imagine that it's going to be annoying to try to uninstall unless you have root access on that device, because the best you can do is really just disable it.
Yeah. Remember this summer when Google said HBO Now was coming to Android TV? Well, it's finally true. Android TV is getting HBO Now, Showtime, CBS All Access, Disney Movies Anywhere, Epix, WWE, and UFC apps. And the following companies will start making products with the Android TV ecosystem integrated. TV manufacturers Hisense and TCL, pay TV set-top box makers Pace, Sagecom, and Technicolor, and pay TV services KDDI of Japan and Telecom Italia.
More and more, cord-cutting options for everybody. Never a bad thing.
And Android TV is, at the back of the pack. They're late to the game. They're trying to gain market share. So striking deals like this and actually getting HBO Now before Roku are a couple of coups for them.
Indeed.
I mean, they did have that major success right out of the gate with the Logitech, whatever it was.
Oh, the Google TV. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I still have one of those in my closet. That was a hit.
I think we all do, don't we? Metaphorically, we all
Yes.
have a Google TV from Logitech in our closet.
Metaphorically, we all actually in a closet somewhere have a first-gen Roku and or insert name of devices over the last 5 years.
Look for them in a future video called Tech Off the Shelf on my YouTube channel. These two stories, actually, the Asus story and this go together a little bit. It's both companies trying to get their services on more platforms. In one case, Microsoft using their patent strength to leverage this, which is an interesting way to go about it. And in the other, it's just Google, striking brute force deals with folks.
Brian Chen wrote a New York Times report on the effect of ad blockers on your iOS browsing experience. Over 4 days, they measured the effect of several ad-blocking apps on page size, load times, and battery life. Results varied widely based on the sites tested. Boston.com was the most improved, going from 38.9 seconds to 8.1 seconds to load, cutting page sizes from 19.4 megabytes to 4. The Guardian was the least improved by a blocker, dropping only from 7 seconds to 6.8 and shaving about 1 kilobit to 3.4. Or from 3.4. Overall battery life improved 21%, but only for web browsing.
Yeah, only shaving off a kilobyte's pretty interesting. And if you look at Brian Chen's article, infographic, you'll see that the majority of the top 50 sites he looked at really didn't receive that much improvement. But the ones at the top that did, they received huge improvements. And that's what's driving people to want to use ad blockers. If they're regular visitors of Boston.com, they're like, this is ridiculous. I've got to figure out how to make this, A, not eat up all my data when I'm out and about because I have a capped data plan, and B, just filling up my browser with crap.
Also, completely unsolicited shout out to the people who designed Boston.com and such a lightweight and clean interface that it's only the ads that is making that thing load slowly. So shout out to upstatement.com.
You know, I was going to make a joke about how this could be resolved by using the Lynx text browser, but obviously we know that that's not a feasible solution in this day and age. But what I find really fascinating is that on modern smart devices with your Safaris and your Chromes and whatnot, that you will have a hard time finding a checkbox under settings to disable things like JavaScript or even just loading images, which seemed to be the norm back in the pre-3G smartphone. It's weird to even kind of consider a Palm Trio a smartphone at this day and age. But those, you know, the easiest thing was just like, hey, disable images, disable JavaScript. You're still going to get the content from Boston.com, and you really don't need to see their logo anyway. And if you're reading Hacker News or whatever like that, all you're missing is a picture of some guy in a ski mask at a keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, if you want if you're on a tight data plan, maybe a gigabyte, that's the kind of thing you want to be able to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how much of the phrase, how much of this concept of ad blockers and our hand wringing about it is just us wanting to feel better and justify why we want to use ad blockers?
I personally don't use them. I use script blockers and things like that. I use cookie blockers. I don't use ad blockers because ads are not my problem. It's overzealous scripts, malware being delivered through particular vectors like ads, and tracking that I have a problem with. So I went ahead and created my own concoction of extensions and plugins and stuff. And the EFF has some great ones, like Privacy Badger, for instance. But most people won't do this. So an ad blocker is just easier for them when they're looking at this and going, oh my gosh, this site takes so long. I can't even see the story because this thing popped up in front of my face while I was trying to read it. It's just a bad experience. I mean, I honestly think there's no problem with ads. It's just that they have pushed the line too far to where they're degrading the experience enough for average people to seek out things like ad blockers.
Yeah. I'm with Tom. You know, no script or not script is really the way to go. You know, barring just switching to NCSA Mosaic.
Or Lynx. Lynx was my first browser. It's a special place in my heart. Damn graphical web. Captain Kipper sent us this heartwarming story. East Texas U.S. District Judge Rodney Gilstrap. Now, you know the East Texas District. They're patent friendly. Everybody wants their patent cases there. Rodney Gilstrap threw out 168 patent lawsuits filed by EDECA. Ars Technica reports Judge Gilstrap said none of EDECA's claims met the standard for patenting and offered the defendants the chance to argue for recovery of attorney's fees. Patent claims tried to cover things like the abstract idea of storing and labeling information, and in the judge's opinion, described routine tasks that could be performed by a human. EDECA filed more than 100 lawsuits last year, and 87 of them in a single week in April. Wow. When you get an East Texas judge to say your patent is worthless, your patent's worthless.
It's that East Texas justice finally making its way to the final digital frontier.
Yeah.
Motherboard reports that the FAA missed the September 30th congressional deadline to fully regulate commercial drones in the United States. The deadline was part of the FAA Modernization Act Congress passed in 2012, directing the FAA to integrate unmanned aerial systems into the National Aerospace System by 2015. The FAA has missed almost every date that's been set for it regarding drones. The FAA expects 1 million more consumer drones to be sold over the holiday season. Now for your drone rage advocacy corner, let's turn to our own Darren Kitchen. Darren?
This is fantastic. I couldn't be happier. This delay is so good. For real. I would rather no laws than really crappy ones, which is so far what's been proposed. I feel like the industry is really, the reason is the industry is maturing at such a fast rate that I have confidence that any of the FAA's concerns are like, oh no, we have to limit the scope of this particular rule because you haven't proved that your equipment can, satisfy our safety concerns in those arenas. I have confidence that either A, those concerns will be tackled in the extended, now that we're in like the 14th or 27th or 34th inning, or Congress will just be like, wow, FAA, like really? Like it's been years, dude. Maybe we should just appoint a new agency just to oversee drones. Which would be kind of cool.
How feasible is something that would be more directed at this very specific problem as opposed to having it just be a subsection of the FAA?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because the FAA was developed to basically maintain safety for passenger aircraft. So it's historically outside of their domain, and one of the reasons why they're having some struggles with it.
Well, and that's where I agree with you that it is better for them to take it slow than to try to hit these deadlines and put ill-considered regulations into place. And I look at the commercial drone application process as an example of the fears were not as bad as the reality. There were fears that the FAA would require commercial operators to apply for these permits and then nobody would be able to get them. And they've been granting them. Now, you can argue they haven't been granting them fast enough or in large enough numbers maybe, but it's not this big wall that nobody can get past, right?
Yeah, my concern is that we end up with 2015 era laws that thwart innovation in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want another agency to be created, but maybe the right thing to do is have the FAA create a subcommittee. And I even hate the idea of that sound, but you're right. I mean, they were created to oversee passenger aircraft, and we do need some rules. We need somebody to set rules. Maybe they could work with the hobbyists, to create some regulations that way, bring them in, give them some authority. I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is, but you're right. There is a risk of still getting poor regulation even as they're missing these deadlines.
I think that's a great idea, Tom, and since you have this last headline, I'm just going to hold my breath and wait for it to happen.
Chrome extension AdBlock is now part of IO's acceptable advertising program, which allows certain ads onto a whitelist, some of which are paid for. Also, the company that makes the extension has been sold, though AdBlock does not say to whom. Extension creator Michael Gundlach will no longer have any relationship with the company. It'll be run by previous director Gabriel Cubbage. Thanks to Reichel Franz for the submission on the subreddit. Adland.tv reports IO's acceptable advertising program will now be overseen by an independent review board. Don't hold your breath anymore. Don't do it, Justin. Hey, are we cool with AdBlock extension being sold and now allowing ads?
Well, didn't we just recommend not scripts the better way to go anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, I want to throw a bone out to Provoxy. I really feel like if you're going to get into if ad blocking is seriously what you want to do, you shouldn't be doing it on the browser level. Do it on the network level. Do it at the entrance to your LAN. Set up yourself a little proxy server. Go and check out Provoxy. It's cool. It's free and open source. It can do way more than just ad blocking, and that's some cool stuff. Build your own private proxy.
Hey, thanks everybody for submitting things at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. As you can see, we got lots of good ones today. Sometimes it leads to people sending you snacks. You just never know. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com, and that's a look at the headlines. It's Fan Mail Friday. We got some really good emails about 4K television, about why Amazon really might be blocking the Apple TV and Chromecast from its stores. We'll start, though, with our pick of the day, and Alex wrote yesterday and said, I'd like to submit a pick. Mine would be the Len Peralta store at lenperaltastore.com. He's currently working on a Star Wars-themed animal print. He has some great gift ideas on his site.
Was this to make up for me being late?
No, this was I had this in the lineup hours ago. Alex just very nicely added this to the end of another email that he sent us, and I was like, yeah, you know what? We always talk about the prints for DTNS, but there's all kinds of cool stuff over there.
Yeah. Actually, Alex is just it turned out great. He's seen it and he likes it. It's really cool. The Star Wars theme. Little of his animals, of his boxers are really they're really cool, and his pugs. I'm sorry, and they look great. It looks great. So thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you.
I would also add to Alex's comment that you should also check out patreon.com/Len. It seems to be really the place to go if you're interested in getting lots of art.
That's true. I was featured this week by Patreon as well, so it's a good week to be featured with everybody.
Lucky you. Well,
I would also like to imagine that in Len's amazing, loving, and voluminous family, that he has just forgotten that he has a relative named Alex.
Oh yeah. I probably do somewhere. That's the way it works in the Filipino world. So
send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can get my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. By the way, one of my picks out there is Mistobox for coffee, and they have changed their service from being samples that you can then order from, which you can still do, to an option that'll be more like Blue Bottle, where they can just send you different roasts every month based on your taste. So you might want to check that out as well.
Rad.
Not an advertisement, just something I like. I enjoy their coffee. All right, let's get to our Fan Mail Friday messages. Colin is a co-executive producer from Waterlogged Atlanta. Wrote in and said, there was an interesting intersection of news discussion this week, and I wanted to make a point about using Facebook to log into third-party websites. I'm an advocate of using Facebook to log in wherever it's available, but only because I have two-factor authentication turned on for Facebook. This means I get the benefit of two-factor on all those websites that usually don't have the feature available themselves. I have fewer logins to keep in 1Password, fewer websites storing my passwords, and I get added security. In the case of the Patreon breach, I created my account with Facebook, so there's no password for me to change because they never stored one for me. Of course, as noted in discussion this week, I'm leaving myself vulnerable to cloud reliability issues with Facebook, logins potentially going down, but in weighing the risks, I can deal with the potential loss of reliability in return for greater and more convenient security. Interested in your thoughts on my use of Facebook to log in everywhere.
Wow, that's quite the trade-off. I mean, convenience and security, those guys have always been at odds, and you're right, you could absolutely make the claim that you have actually received both security and convenience simultaneously. I should also point out that you may have traded a little bit of freedom in that now all of your stuff's locked up with Facebook, and you don't know if they're going to disappear tomorrow or change the way that they work or if they're going to be up or whatever have you. Just for other people thinking about this, maybe some alternatives, I would also suggest KeePass. It's GPL, it's open source, it's local copy only, it's browser integrated. Yeah. But I mean, whichever way you decide to go, I do absolutely see that he's right. He makes a very good point. If you want, I don't want to say be lazy, but if you just want the easy solution and they offer it, why not? I do it all the time with Google services where I'm like, well, Feedly, for instance, it's like, right. Hey, it's a news reader, and I'm like, cool, you can have my RSS feeds. I don't care. Just sign me in with Google.
I like the idea that a third party can give you two-factor authentication. I like the idea that the password is not stored on every site out there. It's a safe way to use one password for every site you go to, right? Because only Facebook is vulnerable. But that's the downside is Facebook is vulnerable. Now, if you have two-factor authentication on, that helps, right? So that minimizes the risk. But it's really about, in this case, to me, do you trust Facebook?
Yeah, and you're expecting that there's no hack that then allows an attacker to use Facebook to pivot into whatever that other web service is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the idea of a third party that provides logins, like you mentioned, like Google, if you trust them, has some merit to it. Maybe you trust Facebook. That's fine. We should trust no one, as we always say. But it's like you say, Darren. It's always trade-offs, right?
It's not trust no one, Tom. It's trust everyone. It's trust all of the developers on the GitHub for the source that you can actually read through and actually see where the commits were made and by whom, and compile your own version and feel secure with your password manager of choice if it's open source and not some crappy cloud-based proprietary
thing that you
Sorry.
can't see at all.
I'm going to stop now.
Gotcha. Let's talk about Amazon saying we're not going to sell Apple TVs and Chromecasts anymore. We had a few theories we talked about yesterday. Lots of folks wrote in and pointed out that, hey, wait a minute, Amazon doesn't have apps for Apple TV and Chromecast. They're well within their rights to say we're not going to sell this stuff if they won't put our service on it. To which I responded to many of them, yes, but Amazon can make Chromecast apps. There's already a developer way to do that. And Apple just released an SDK for Apple TV. So right at the point where Apple opened up and said, yes, anybody can make an app, Amazon kicked them out of the store. Well, we got some interesting emails, two interesting emails that shed some light on this. M. David Packard has sent Amazon an email after he saw the Mac Rumors article about this and got a response. He said, I vented to Amazon and their return email indicates that they are working on an app for the Apple TV 4th Gen and it would be available in the near future. He says, take this as it will. It just comes from a customer service rep. But he sent what he said was a copy of the email. And in that copy, it said, we'll expand Amazon Video to the upcoming Apple TV 4th generation in the near future. Now, if that's true, combine that with what John says. He says, Chromecast is where Amazon and Google are in a giant pissing match. One could make the argument that Google took the first swing when it built the Cast SDK into its Play services, Google's proprietary services, instead of as a standalone SDK. Since Amazon's Fire OS is a forked version of Android, it does not use Play services. Therefore, there's no way for a Fire tablet to use Chromecast. In retaliation, Amazon seems to have all but abandoned their version of the Videos app that's available in the Google Play Store. The last update was March of 2014, just a month after the Cast SDK was released. Since then, they've updated the version they have available through their own Android app store. And while normal Android users, the vast majority of Android users, are able to download it from Amazon apps coming from Amazon, others can't make use of Play services since they have to be compatible with the Fire OS. So even if you get that Amazon app through the Amazon App Store on your Android device, it doesn't work with Chromecast. Amazon documents how to port your app to use Amazon services instead of Google, yet they refuse to go the other direction. Hope to shed some light on the topic. Thank you, John, in Finally Feels Like Fall, Billings, Montana. This makes perfect sense to me, where Amazon is saying to Chromecast, you're blocking us from using the Chromecast with the way you have implemented your SDK. We don't like it. We're not going to sell your Chromecast anymore. And then deciding, you know what? Apple TVs are being phased out anyway. This gives us a little cover to say it's not just about Google. And then as soon as the 4th gen Apple TV comes out and we have an app for it, we can start selling that one. That's where we'll make all the money anyway.
Doesn't this just kind of feel like we are just but simple villagers at the foot of Mount Olympus? And when, Hercules gets in a fight with, his father, and all of a sudden a lightning bolt singes my hut, you wonder why we deserved it. This is I totally buy that this is a negotiation that is on a level higher than than something as simple as, Amazon's butthurt and they want to pull, these products or whatever. I think all these theories make sense, and this is something that will be resolved in a way that, in the next 6 months, it really makes this kind of seem like a bluff, because Amazon at the end of the day is just, they are in business. They're in the volume business. They sell everything for like 3 cents over what they buy it. And electronics are one of the few vectors that they can actually make decent profit on, even when it's third-party stuff. They have in what actually makes them money, they have no actual interest in not selling electronics that people want to buy. This is all about, some backroom deal that, is in a very tender stage, and that's why they're doing very preliminary things like sending emails out to third parties saying stop sending us Apple TVs and Chrome devices because we won't be storing them in our warehouse.
Well, and Amazon has done this before with publishers. They weren't getting a deal with a publisher that they wanted. They stopped selling their books. They stopped putting them up for pre-order. They shot themselves in the foot. Like Amazon Books, come on, like that's the root of the company. Everybody goes to Amazon for books, and they're like, well, so what? We're going to use our power for ourselves in this case. And I would not be surprised if they're doing the same thing with Google. I'm skeptical that they're really in a beef with Apple, and I fully expect the 4th gen Apple TV to be sold through Amazon. We'll see if I'm wrong though.
Well, I just feel like this is exactly why everyone wants to be the platform, whether it's the Chromecast or the Apple TV, or even just like where you buy stuff, Amazon or the Play Store or the App Store. If you are, you can swing your weight around when you are the platform, when you feel like you really need to and feel threatened. So it just seems like Amazon feels really threatened as far as like their long-term viability in that space.
Yeah, Amazon's beef with Apple has always been that Apple wants to take 30% of anything sold through the app. And Amazon's like, you don't take 30% when somebody buys, Pampers through our app. Why are you taking 30% of our ebooks and our comics and now possibly Amazon Prime videos, right? So there could be something there. But you're right. It's in the end, it's all about wanting to be the platform for everything.
Well, and one of the sorry, just real quick. One of the emails made a very good point. This has been the genetic issue with Android, is that as an open platform, the more that these OSs get forked by certain companies like Samsung and Amazon, the more they are destined to come into collision with Google when they don't play by the Android rules, which is why they created Android in the first place.
We had a discussion earlier this week about data centers, and Craig, if you've ever seen Nerdtacular, you know why I'm yelling his name like that, writes, here's a link to the public Google webpage that has photos of the inside of a Google data center, as well as a Google Street View walkthrough of the Lenoir, North Carolina facility. Also, google.com/about/data centers has more general information about how we run our data centers, and Craig works in one. For example, under the efficiency link, it talks about how we keep data center floor temperatures at about 80 degrees, which is significantly higher than the 60 to 70 degrees that most other data centers are kept at. Craig says, one of the most fun things I love about working at the one in Council Bluffs, Iowa, is being surrounded by servers and knowing that a lot of the world's data is literally feet away from me. I sometimes wonder what is being served or searched for on a machine that I'm working on. I have no way of knowing due to our privacy policies. It's still fun to guess. I even wonder if some of my own data is on a server I'm working on. It's a fun little game. I don't know if this could be considered a pick or not, but I thought at least I could help folks learn more about how Google stores our users' data. So we'll have those links in the show notes as well.
That is super rad, and I think learning about data centers is something that is very worthwhile for people who want to understand the internet. And the only data center story I have is your friend of mine, Willie Dills Gregory, of the many amazing podcasts. At his company that he works at, he went to go visit their data center, which was shared at the time by Spotify, and he just walks by and sees two gigantic racks that are just labeled Taylor Swift.
It's
which I guess now have gone dormant, but
too much
at
power.
the time.
Too much power. Yeah, and if you look up Facebook data center, there's a lot of good information about how they do their data centers. They have an open platform for data centers that they share with other companies. So yeah, look around for information on data centers. If you're interested, there's lots to be learned.
It never goes out of style.
Blinking LEDs.
Yeah.
Best part.
Adam in Shreveport, Louisiana says, it's my belief that Chrome OS has been Google's vision of a stateless computing device. It's incredibly easy to sit down at any Chrome OS device, log in, and be working on it in just a few seconds. You log out, your history is completely wiped clean. If something goes wrong, you power wash it. Reboot, log back in, you're back to work instantly. I know you can log in as an additional user with Android, but it takes much longer, and you have to download all your apps and get all synced up before you can start using it. Also, what if the Android device doesn't have enough storage space for your data before you get started? Apple has both iOS and Mac OS X, so I don't see why everyone makes such a big deal of Google attempting to satisfy both markets, meaning Android and Chrome OS.
Do you think that perhaps Chrome OS is an epic fail because Microsoft or any other insert big company here hasn't tried to copy that kind of concept and create that same sort of like inexpensive stateless machine like we're talking about?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there are other versions of that out there. There's some open source versions out there that are quite nice, but Google's the only one spending significant amount of marketing money on that kind of machine. And I think a lot of people still look at it and say, yeah, but what about when I don't have an internet connection?
Right. I'm just wondering, like, is this like what in Windows RT was supposed to be? Like, what's the response from Redmond there? You know,
Yeah,
or
there
is the
isn't
response,
one.
we're just going to ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist, and hope it goes away?
I think they're probably looking at Windows 10 as evolving towards that without losing the power that Chrome OS had to give up to achieve that now, right? They kind of want to meet that situation down the road when cloud computing is more powerful and internet is more ubiquitous, and it's just a seamless transition. That'd be my guess. Anyway.
And Chrome OS was always, you know, in Google's mythology of it, built for the future that was yet to come.
Sure.
Like it was their bet that, you know, one day the future is going to wake up and say, hey, we're here, and it will find a home built for it in Chrome OS.
Same for Pixel. I mean, we made a big deal about, it's a Pixel with Android, but several people have pointed out to me Pixel really just means Google trying to drive design by creating advanced designs that are farther down the road than the software that runs on them. So, and I think The Pixel C is an example of that.
I do just love that Google just unapologetically creates the OS as just Chrome. Like, no, that's it. You know,
Yeah. That's all you
don't
need.
expect any more.
It's
It does what it
Netscape
says on the tin.
Constellation, circa 1997. Now.
It is so funny, and I think it's in the Plex that details the view, the evolving philosophical view inside Google that it is only the browser. It is all you need, and it was all. And one day you'll see all of you. You'll all only need the browser,
Except the Android team.
Right.
except the Android team.
I really think that Chrome and Android at Google is kind of like Apple and Lisa, or I guess Apple and Mac.
Which one of them's Lisa, though?
Oh ho, only time will tell. And then the other one we'll look back at like we do our Palm Pilots. It'll be so great.
Dave MacDo on Twitter sent a link to this Snopes article by Kim LaCapria, which is a very reasoned article about why the People app that we talked about yesterday, Washington Post interviewed its founders, might end up being vaporware. Now, as we said yesterday, the People app isn't supposed to come out until late November, but the Snopes article shows that there really isn't any evidence that the app existed or had any kind of development before August. And if that's the case, that'd be a hell of a stunt to pull off launching, even in beta, in November.
I don't doubt it. I think that this has all the hallmarks of, and this is something that I'm sure I could talk about with Jenny, but this is all the hallmarks of a story and not an app. There is like, it has almost been molded perfectly from the response from the creators, which is like hypocritical with a capital H, to the premise that can fit into a BuzzFeed headline and enrage people enough to comment. Whether or not it is definitely a thing, it certainly will almost without a doubt be more of a story than it is an app.
If the Washington Post didn't see a version of it, didn't actually get to look at the service in development, that's a problem. They don't make it clear whether they did or not. I would like to know that.
And also, who looked at it? Because not all reporters are created equal when looking at apps and understanding.
I suppose that's true too. Finally, Colin wrote in to emphasize that 4K is the resolution. HD, UHD are the video spec, which includes not just the resolution, but the frame rate and the color space. He also points out that very few movies have been shot in 4K resolution. He said The Revenant is one of the most recent ones to really do it, but The Avengers was not shot in full 4K. 4K is being driven, he said, by TV and camera manufacturers. And here's an excerpt from his email. Fidelity and color space are where the greatest improvements are available for the least investment. A lower resolution with better compression, bit depth, and color science will give you more results than more pixels. The iPhone 6s can resolve more pixels than an Alexa XT Studio camera, but it is not a better camera. We will inevitably see more and more producers moving over to 4K, but it is far from universal right now, so I wouldn't be in a rush to have a 4K display. That said, the promise of better color space is amazing and certainly backed up by available content, but it simply isn't a reality yet. If you'd like to read Colin's full email, he's got great information in there. We'll have the full text in our show notes at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. But
yeah, that's an interesting point. It very much feels like the same argument of megapixels versus lenses and actual die size and things of that nature versus, this seems to be the resolution versus bit depth and color space and all of those other wonderful things that make a good image.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is it for Fan Mail Friday. Thank you, folks, for writing in, sharing your expertise with us. We love that, especially from folks who are actually working on things, working in the industry, like we heard from today. So keep them coming. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. It makes the show better, and it's informative to everybody else in the audience. That's why we have contributors like Darren Kitchen come on as well. HAK5.org. What's going on over there, Darren?
Well, you remember at the top of the headlines we were talking about Patreon in the hack, and I'm sure all of those juicy emails will end up in a wonderful place, which is haveibeenpwned.com. It's created by Troy Hunt, and you can see Shannon interview Troy Hunt about just that on Hack 5 a little later today, as well as check out, if you're a fan of the movie Hackers, check out our Hackers kind of mini documentary about the mythology and lore inside that movie. You can find that on youtube.com/hack5.
Yeah, the Patreon emails are available on Troy Hunt's Have I Been Pwned website if you want to double check and see if you're in there. Justin Robert Young, a pleasure as always, sir. What is going on in your many worlds?
Well, first off, I'd like to point out that Hackers was the first movie that I got drunk in. It was a airplane bottle of coconut rum poured into a Coke at the Regal Cinemas, Oakwood in Florida. So, fun fact. Number 2, The Contender, the card game of presidential debate, is available right now for pre-order. We have an announcement that I will make first here on Daily Tech News Show. We are keeping production of this card game right here at home, USA, which is going to very much thin our margins. But it will get it in people's hands by Christmas, which was something that was very, very, very important to us. We have much more about that. You can go ahead and follow. Next week, we're actually going to do a huge data dump on So You Want to Fund a Successful Card Game, going into in intricate detail, everything we did, every dime spent, everything we didn't spend, everything in terms of production. We are going to put everything out there. Just sign up for our mailing list. Go to thecontender.us, and right next to the pre-order button, you got our mailing list. Go ahead and sign up for that. And if you haven't pre-ordered it, pre-order it, because it's super rad. And we did our final play test last week, and we were laughing so hard, we annoyed everybody else at the patio bar we were at. So I'm very happy with it, and I hope you guys will be too.
You too can be the good fellows of card games and annoy everyone else in the bar you're at.
Indeed.
Twitter.com/Justin R. Young. Len Peralta, what have you been drawing?
You know, I saw that it was Fan Mail Friday, and I wanted to do something. I thought it'd be kind of funny. The stories are all very, very interesting, but the one that kind of stood out to me is Amazon not liking Apple and taking Apple out. So I took it rather literally. I drew an Amazon taking a bite of an apple and saying, Amazon hate Apple. I don't know. Sorry, guys. It's a Friday.
Is he Chromecasting the Apple away?
Yeah, he is. He's cast. Yes, exactly. Chromecasting it away. Very good.
Very good. All right.
Yeah, I know. It is what it is.
No.
Look, folks, Len's from Cleveland, okay? Just keep it in mind. Go to lenperaltastore.com. Take a look at Len's art. You can find it there, and, maybe add an S to hate. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, listen, I feel like maybe there is an entire niche out there that really doesn't like Apple and Apple products, and maybe this is something that they would like to put up on their wall. I think
it's possible.
Well, it's for someone who is an Amazon fanboy, possibly.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, for all the Amazon fanboys, you definitely need to go to lenperaltastore.com.
Especially you, Alex.
Especially you, Alex. Thank you to the folks who support the show. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support. Of course, you can support us by Patreon. Patreon.com/AceDetect. If that's not for you, and whether I'm not talking about the hack in particular, but we also are supported through PayPal. So you can go to DailyTechNewsShow.com/support. Find the way to support us through PayPal. You can support us through our store. We got mouse pads, we got mugs, we got t-shirts. Go to dailytechnewsshow.com/store for that as well. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at player.alphageekradio.com. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back on Monday with Justin Robert Young again and Veronica Belmont. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom. Good show. What should we call it?
I'll tell you what, I actually got to go because I'm late for coffee with everyone's friend, Molly Wood.
Oh, well, tell Molly Wood I said hello.
I will.
Oh.
I will see you guys later.
Adios.
Take care. We'll see you.
Google gets alphabetized. FAA misses the drone.
The FFA fails to fly.
The
There's something there,
FFA.
but
FAA. I don't think the FFA
FAA
should.
is grounded.
Actually,
Sorry.
they could do crop dusting. Never mind.
Time flies by the FAA. Oh, that's actually kind of cute.
Which one?
Time flies by the FAA. Anyway, the script wars. Swear the Facebook oath or oath.
Oh,
like that.
got it.
I like that, Beatmaster.
That's clever.
I like breach blanket bingo.
Breach blanket bingo.
Yeah.
Ooh. Actually, breach bingo, is that not already a thing?
Well, beach blanket bingo is the name of a very famous 50s beach movie. So
Is that like Gidget?
Yeah, it's
Kind
that
of the
era.
same period.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
They were all shot in studios or sets.
Tech gods are angry, and we're getting burnt.
The script wars.
FAA misses its flight. FAA drone regulations don't get off the ground. One flew over the FAA. These are really good.
One flew over the FAA.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, man. I went to a great show in Toronto once that was like bird flew over the, I forget what now, but it was about the bird flu.
That's awesome.
AmaZeus.
Not another box.
That one made Len laugh.
I think that's funny.
It's good. The tech gods are angry, and we're getting burnt. It's pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, folks. Breach blanket bingo is my favorite so
That's a good
far,
one.
but I like AmaZeus too.
I'm for AmaZeus.
You're for
But-
AmaZeus?
Actually, now that I look at it, I might like dyslexia read that in the RSS reader and be like, huh?
AmaZeus, AmaZeus, AmaZeus.
Rock me, AmaZeus.
Rock me, Amazeus.
There it is.
Rock me,
Is
Amazeus.
that it? Is that our
Rock me, AmaZeus.
Rock me, AmaZeus? Excellent. It's collaborative.
Rock me, Amazeus. Ooh, you gotta put the ooh in front of it. Ooh,
Rock me, AmaZeus.
Bum 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 bum. Superstar.
Tom, I got to tell you, I had an epiphany here recently.
Yeah.
In the middle of the show, as we were talking about this, I realized that if instead of the iPod coming out by Apple in 2001, if Google had released Chrome as some sort of media player that has RSS integration to download audio and video files and such, that we would potentially not be podcasters, but Chromecasters. And I don't know what kind of parallel universe that would mean.
Yeah. I want to write an alternative history story now.
Mm-hmm. That would actually be the only thing that's different, though.
And well, no, there'd be no Apple, right? Because what brought Apple back really was the iPod. So Apple would still be this kind of like outlier company.
You know what? We would be stuck with the Trio and the BlackBerry.
Yeah.
That's what would happen. Or actually the Android that Google was initially going to release, but then got swooped by Apple, and then you see the original drawings, and you're like, wow, they made a BlackBerry. That was pretty terrible.
So would we be tree casting then?
C casting.
No, it'd be Chromecasting.
Yeah,
It'd just be
for
Chromecast.
Trio.
Yeah, you're right.
For the trio with tree casting.
If Amazon had won the audio wars, then we would be Firecasters.
Oh.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
You assume that the wars are over.
Oh. Do you think that something is going to supplant podcasting sometime soon?
Well, then certainly
know.
past the telephone.
Why would anyone want to talk over a wire when you can just tap on it
Yeah, it's true.
and have someone else do it? You just
As
set
do
it-
many others in high public
Why would
office.
anyone ever want a television when you could just have the radio? Why wait a second. Who would ever want the FM radio that's more powerful than AM?
Waste of money, if you ask
Waste
me.
of money.
Frequency. Why would you modulate the frequency when you can modulate the amplitude?
I'm David
Awesome.
Sarnoff, and I own all those patents.
Amplitude modulation can do everything this frequency modulation can do. It just doesn't yet.
Except stereo.
And
You
now,
got AM stereo now.
I thought you had
just
to, I thought you had to do
talking
something
now.
special with AM for stereo.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do something.
Darren, I like
Hold
the
on.
ominous red clouds behind you. They're very
Dead clouds?
ominous.
I have dead clouds?
White,
Red clouds.
puffy clouds.
Red clouds at night.
You know
the
what else?
best of the
I mean,
80s
I don't know
on
if it's
Daily
in
Tech
frame. Is it in frame? Nope. Goes right. The frame ends like right here. Bummer.
Oh, they have to modulate the phase as well as the amplitude for a stereo.
Mm.
You guys all saw the Mr. Robot I drew, right?
Oh, it's so good.
No, I did not see that. I have to get it.
Yeah.
It's on the front page of the store. I put it on
Yeah,
the front page of the store.
really good.
Store.com.
It hacked me just looking at it.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it was I watched the show and then I was like I just drew it and tons of people liked it, so I'm like, I'm just gonna put it up here and see what happens. So,
No, good idea.
Very nice.
Senor Robot.
all right, I gotta figure out what I'm doing. It's been one hell of a week.
Spaghetti, man.
Am I? I don't
We
know.
haven't had spaghetti on Friday in a long time.
No, you know why? Because there's a bunch of people missing, so it doesn't really make sense for me to make a huge.
That was your excuse last Friday.
That
I
was
know.
your excuse after the rapture too.
Seriously, we're missing like 3 or 4 people, so it's like.
And then the aliens came through, and you had the same excuse.
We gather every Friday expecting spaghetti.
I know. Well, I can actually go out and get it. It's just it's a big meal, and then everybody, there's not enough people to clean up afterwards, and it's like. Bleh.
Why don't you do shells then?
Or you know what? I could do something which is like, just do something in the afternoon, like put a lasagna in or something, and then it'd be done.
Oh yeah, that's smart.
Or you do a casserole and just make rice.
Well,
Yeah,
lasagna's kind of like a casserole, exactly.
Ooh.
It's the same thing. Same work procedure.
Same,
Efficiency.
put everything together,
Yeah.
prepare, and then leave in the oven and drink a glass of wine.
I think actually what we're doing, we're missing a major opportunity here in post-show to integrate a straw poll for dinner.
What's for dinner?
What should Len eat for dinner? Straw poll?
You should eat
Would you be
straw.
willing to leave your dinner choices available to the
That'd
crowd?
be interesting. That'd be interesting, actually.
Wait,
Probably
the straw poll doesn't allow you to add additional choices, though, right?
Well, no, you can after you set when you set it up, you can have multiple choices. Yeah.
Yeah. What should Len get for dinner? Usually that'll be open to where should we eat, because if it's a small enough group that I can just like take a small little group of
Well, you
kids.
can give us the choices. Like what are the options?
Yeah, like I can't go to In-N-Out, right? Because there's not one near us. So, but
There, so that one's out.
right.
Not in, just
There's
out.
there's not. There's tons of restaurants, but then I'd have to like.
It's a good substitute.
Oh yeah, Fridays is what is it? Five Guys. Yeah, we have
Five Guys. Yeah.
Five Guys. Only problem with that is that the 3-year-old doesn't really eat those huge burgers. So, but they do sell hot dogs though. He likes hot dogs.
Got to learn sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Open up wide.
Hey, what happened, by the way? Did you send it and it just was slow getting me? What happened with the invite?
I sent it through. I didn't email it to you. That was my mistake. I should have done that. But I sent it through Hangout.
Oh,
I don't know
if I was on that. Yeah, I don't know if I was on that page.
The chat thing, and so I sent it through chat, the G chat, whatever they call it these days.
Yeah.
But and so I guess that didn't get to you or something.
Yeah, I wasn't looking there because I was waiting for the email to come, I think.
Okay, so that's my mistake for not sending the email. But as a backup, you can always go into Slack.
Oh,
because
Slack.
I always put it in Slack for everybody. So if it fails like this in the future and I forget to email, look in Slack and you'll see it there.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like in this day and age, we would have invented like some sort of standardized means for us to collaborate and communicate and send text to each other. But
This is a beautiful.
I think it's an opportunity, though, for
this
a
is a
startup
beautiful
now.
exhibition of the modern problem, which is sure we've got Slack for that, or we could use Hangouts for that, or you can't get everybody on the same platform. There's too many platforms.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be the platform, Tom. That's the whole thing.
It's option paralysis because you don't know where to go to get the information.
You're not
And
going
we've
to
talked
make
about this
money
before.
sending an email. You'll make it building an email infrastructure.
Well, right, and there's certain people like if I send them an email, I know they'll never see it. It'll take forever. But if I send them a text message, I have a 50% chance they'll be paying attention. But if I get them on Twitter, maybe like everybody's got a different route.
Yeah, I thought Slack was only on my phone, but apparently it's also online. Where would it be? With like a direct message?
You can go into a browser and sign into it.
Yeah, I'm there right now.
If you go into DTNS's daily channel, you'll see the. You'll see a lot of GIFs.
Okay, yeah, right.
But at the
there
bottom,
it is.
you'll see the link.
Okay, well, this is good. That's good to know. So.
Yeah.
What's also good to know is that there is, in fact, a straw poll now.
Yes, I saw that.
Spaghetti,
For where I should eat.
hamburgers, a poll pot.
Well, that's just the eternal third option on any poll, and from chat realm anyway. It's hamburgers or spaghetti. That's what you're choosing.
Looks like the poll pot's winning, actually.
Actually, you're having Cambodian tonight.
Yeah.
I can. I have to see. I want to see what's around here. I like pole pot, man. Jeez.
Cambodian food's really good.
Put the pole in the pot. You boil it.
I don't know if they would appreciate the comparison.
Spaghetti, hamburgers, other. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go get some pole pot. Sounds delicious. Kids are gonna hate it, but that's all right. That's good with me, man. I eat anything.
Hey, the people have spoken.
I'm good with whatever. Hey, man, I do not complain about food. Really, like it's like, hey, this is good. I like it. Kids, I hate when my kids are so. Oh, I don't know. It's too spicy. I'm like, oh, come on.
You know what my parents did?
Yeah, what did your parents do?
Said, eat it, because that's it.
That's it, right?
That's kind of what mine did, too. Like, at home, for sure, it was what's on your plate, you eat.
Right.
In a restaurant, even, they'd be like, well, you ordered it. Shouldn't have ordered it if you didn't want it.
Well, our kids, man, it's really, when we had, like, everybody here, it's like we had a kid who didn't like food, wouldn't eat. It's like, well, then you just got to make your own dinner, just because this is what it is. If you don't like it, you got to make your own dinner. And so usually it was like, then we had to, like, give them something later, like, here's a sandwich. But they didn't like the option of having to make their own dinner. It's like,
that's
you
how
can't have, like, 3 or 4 different meals.
That's how I learned how to cook. Like, I'm just going to learn how to cook the stuff I want to eat.
Cheers, guys.
One of the funniest things that ever happened was when my oldest son was real small, he was not eating, like, we just made, like, a can of, like ravioli or spaghetti or something, and he didn't like it. And he's like, it's not, his mom was like, I didn't make it. And he's like, oh, it's from a can? And then he's...
Oh, and then it was fine?
Yeah, he loved, if it was from a can, everything's good.
How insulting.
Yeah, it was really insulting.
Yeah.
All right, got to figure it out. But all right, excellent. I know this week. See, I said it wasn't. Usually I have an off week. This might have been the off week here. So.
No worries, man. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll talk to you later.